So yesterday I finally saw the Odyssey movie directed by Christopher Nolan. Obviously for me personally this was one of the most exciting movies of the year, and I've been looking forward to this one for quite a few years, ever since it got announced by like Christopher Nolan himself like 2 or 3 years ago, basically after Oppenheimer. And basically today I want to give my full review of the movie, but I won't include spoilers for the people that haven't seen it yet, because obviously I'm going to upload this once very close to the release date. And I expect that a lot of people are still going to see it in the upcoming month. And so far from the box office, it looks like it's doing very well. It basically made already like 275 million so far. And I personally expect this movie to basically end at like $1 billion. I think it's going to do slightly better than Oppenheimer, because the story itself is probably going to connect with a more broader audience this time. And still Oppenheimer made like a lot of money, even though not many people knew about Oppenheimer or were interested in physics as well. But I think there's just the box office powers of Christopher Nolan is going to be like so massive that this movie will basically hit $1 billion, and I wouldn't be surprised if it even hits more than that. So we'll have to wait and see in the next month or two how it's going to end up finishing up. But so far it looks like it's doing very well, and personally I was really excited to see this one. I've looked at all the trailers beforehand, and I know I've seen all the critics on it beforehand as well from other people on the internet. But I personally didn't really want to listen to those critics, because the critics are always going to be on the Christopher Nolan's movies, because Christopher Nolan has like a dedicated fan base, but it also has like a dedicated hater base. And basically you have to pick a side. But I personally really enjoyed all of his movies so far, so I was never really in doubt if this movie was going to be like greatly received. And my main opinion on this movie is that it's actually very good. I really enjoyed my time with it. Obviously it had a really stacked cast as well, and for me the standout actors this time, obviously the main character this time, who plays Odysseus, Matt Damon, was one of the most standout characters for me. He's basically in the movie for like 95% of the time, so if you're worried about the screen time of the main character, don't worry about it, because he's basically the entire movie. Just as it was with Oppenheimer, with Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer. And for me, some other few exceptional cast members this time were Anne Hathaway, who played Penelope, and Samantha Morton. Obviously she has a character in the movie as well. She isn't in it for that long, but the time that she is in the movie, she did an exceptional job. And obviously Robert Pattinson, who plays kind of like the villain in this movie. He's also one of the standouts for me. And that doesn't mean that all of the other cast members were not great, but for me these were the 4 ones that stood out to me the most. But obviously the entire movie has a really stacked cast. We all bring a lot of solid performances, and this is not really an issue with this movie. Like, you can expect basically everyone who played in this movie to give an exceptional performance, so don't worry about that. And I personally saw it in IMAX, and I advise you to, if you have the opportunity to see it in IMAX, just do see it in IMAX, because it makes the experience a lot better, and the sound is exceptional, and the image quality is like the best there is. And I think if you have the opportunity, you should do it. Obviously you also have IMAX 70mm, but there are not a lot of theaters in the world who can actually showcase that in that format. So just see it in IMAX if you have the opportunity, and you will not be disappointed, I will say that. And the movie is like 2 hours and 52 minutes. On paper that looks like a long time, but I thought the movie went by very quickly, and it never felt like a drag. It always felt like I was fully engaged in the story as well. And I personally wished kind of that the movie was a little bit longer, because I also felt like there were pretty much a lot of sections in the movie that got cut out. I felt like this movie could do with a lot of more scenes that explain some of the parts of the movie. And I wouldn't really be against a director's cut of the movie that is going to be like 4 hours long, but I can understand why they did this one for the theatrical version of the movie. And it was also the case of like IMAX can't really go further than 3 hours, so it's a perfect length for this movie. I think the timing is justified, and it doesn't feel like a drag, so that's not going to be an issue. I was engaged the entire time. I personally love the movie, and like a lot of times you are wondering when you are watching these scenes, like how on earth did they even make this? And then you go on to basically watch behind the scenes of these movies, and you see like, oh, that's like a really clever trick that they tried to do that. And then you can like still see it in the movie that it's all practical. Christopher Nolan basically does the entire movie practical. You know, there are obviously some parts of it are like expanded with visual effects, of course, but they are not really noticeable. And most of it is in camera, from what I feel like, but I personally don't really have all the insights in the entire movie. So yeah, you know, it feels real, it looks real, and it doesn't look computer generated, which is great, of course. And for me, the most standout part of the movie was like the last 30 minutes, where the movie basically really kicks off. I basically can't go really into spoilers, so if you have seen it, just leave a comment down below, and otherwise you can watch my spoiler review in the upcoming days. But for me, the last 30 minutes also really redeemed the movie for me, and it basically instantly felt like a Nolan classic, and I basically think this movie will grow on a lot of people in the upcoming years. Even though it gets a lot of criticism these days, so yeah, I think it's just exceptional, and obviously the score by Ludwig Göransson was exceptional this time around. Obviously he worked with Christopher Nolan before on Tenet and Oppenheimer. I think Oppenheimer beforehand was like his standout score, and this one was solid as well. It's a very different type of score compared to Oppenheimer, but especially it's very good this time around, and especially at the end of the movie. You know what I mean when you see the movie, but I think at the ending of the movie his score really kicks off. So my overall opinion, I think this is still one of the better movies Christopher Nolan has made. If it's the best of all time, I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait a few years down the line if that's really the case. But you know, it's like comparable to Oppenheimer. I think it's just I personally feel like it's a bit more exciting to watch than Oppenheimer. But that is just not really depends on the quality of the movie. That is just like depending on like the story itself, because the story of like Odyssey was like a slightly bit more exciting to watch than Oppenheimer, in my personal opinion. But you know, these last two movies are still exceptional, and I think this one is very well worth seeing. I hope this movie does well at the box office, so he can probably make another movie in the next coming 3 years, and he can do whatever he wants with the budget he wants. So yeah, I wasn't disappointed this time around. I was very excited, and all those expectations were met, and I think it's very well worth seeing for you if you haven't seen it yet. I will probably upload my spoiler review in the upcoming days, so I'm looking forward to that, so I can go into detail of the entire movie and of all of the scenes, and I can give my opinion on specific scenes as well. But I basically wanted to give my non-spoiler review this time around for all of the people that haven't seen it. So yeah, I want to thank you for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.